Okay, hot tea. What's up, guys? Welcome to a very cautionary tale episode. Sad for me, hopefully preventative for you. Fortunately, I got lots of chai tea to drown my sorrows in. So let's just get right into it. What happened? The title is pretty intense, I think, which is somewhat warranted. So if you're new here, I am a photographer by day and by night, also a photographer. What I'm trying to say is photography is my only source of income, and for the most part, I love it. All right, so as you can guess from the title, Facebook did kind of like ruin my life. Just a little bit. So obviously, like, I'm fine, my family is fine, my business is still a business, I'm still on YouTube, all of that stuff. But let's just get right into it. So I've had, like many people on this earth, I do have a personal Facebook account. I kind of hate Facebook though, and I kind of have not liked it for a long time. Like, itself as a business and what it does psychologically to human beings, I just don't enjoy where that's taken the people of my life and myself. And so I've not been using my personal Facebook. I made a big post like a year ago and said basically, like, I'm done. I will not post again ever on my personal page. I'm just keeping it for like login info and messaging and that kind of stuff. So I haven't been posting at all. I haven't been using my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. I have a separate business Facebook page, which is fine. Luckily, that one was okay because my wife, camera lady, Brittany, she has admin. She's also an admin on that, so I still have access to my to my business page. I digress. So here's what happened. I got an email on the 12th, or not an email. I got a notification on my phone sometime at night, like right as I was winding down to go to bed, like 10, 11 o'clock. Facebook popped up a notification on my phone and said, hey, security, there's someone trying to log in Seattle. Is this you? And I, of course, am in New Mexico, so I said, no, this is not me. And I have the notifications turned on for that kind of stuff, and I had two-factor authentication on. So that's why it was alerting me and letting me, like, asking me for the extra security. So I said no, of course, and I hit deny. So Facebook then seemingly it understands that that was not me because I denied it, and it said, okay, you've denied this, so we're not going to let this login attempt happen, and you're cool, you're good, just so you know. So I went to sleep, and I woke up the next morning to a message saying that basically my account had been suspended because something I posted didn't conform with the community guidelines. And of course I hadn't posted anything because I'd been asleep, and it said, for privacy reasons or for security reasons, we can't tell you what it is that you posted that goes against our community guidelines. And then it said, do you disagree with this? You can click here. So of course I said yes. I clicked that I disagree, but that's it. There's no option for text or a response or a rebuttal or a defense or anything. It's just click here to disagree. And then it says, we'll have someone review your thing, but oh, by the way, because of the pandemic, we don't have anybody to review your thing, basically, or we're running like super low on people to review your thing. Which, don't even get me started on how a company who makes billions of dollars per quarter cannot have enough people to do the one job that this company has. Anyways, we're not going to get into that. So yeah, it said that, and I said okay, and it said we'll get back to you in 24 hours. Oh, but it also asked for my ID and did a little video thing to prove that I am me. So I did that. I did everything that they asked, and then I submitted it, and then they said within 24 hours they would get back to me, which is impressive for a company who apparently doesn't have anyone to review. Oh, you know what? Let's not go there again. 2 hours later, I get an email that says that they have reviewed my case and that my account has been permanently disabled because something I posted was against their community guidelines. And again, for safety reasons, they were not allowed to tell me what that post was or let me refute that at all. And they said, this decision is final. End of story. You can't ever play with us again. You are ineligible to use Facebook. So my very first reaction was, okay, whatever. I must have gotten hacked. Somebody must have posted something horrible, as they do. This is not the first occurrence of this, but whatever, like screw Facebook. I don't even use it. And then that's when things like, that's when the tea started kicking in and I started waking up in the morning and realizing like, oh, this is not good, because now like I tried to get on Messenger and message my mother, who is one of a few family members who I use Messenger primarily to communicate with. And that didn't work so well because Messenger said, hey, your account's been suspended because you're ineligible for Facebook now. So there's problem number one, is that like a lot of my contacts for my personal life are now gone. Like, yeah, I have a lot of people's phone numbers and emails and other ways, but when everybody gets into an established, acceptable form of communication and that gets disrupted, you start having complications. So anyways, I called my mother on the phone, as we did back in the 80s and 90s. Yes, I am that old. And I told her what happened, and I emailed people and texted people that, need to know. So that's problem number one, personal life issue number one. And then I realized like, oh wow, like I've been on Facebook for like 12 years now or something. And I have like a lot of like memories and photos and video clips of like my kid growing up through the years and, all that kind of stuff, family trips and, relatives, and all of that's gone. And I do have backups, obviously. I mean, I'm a professional photographer. I do this for a living. I do have backups of everything. I mean, I make backups of all of my camera stuff, my video stuff, my cell phone stuff. Every year I get a new phone, I take everything on there and I triple back it up, just like I do with here. So I didn't like personally completely lose, my stuff, but I lost access to it as it had been recorded and connected with other people, if that makes sense. I lost my connections that I built for the last 12 years through, families and friends and all of that stuff. Here's the really sucky part from a photographer's point of view, is that, okay, first, I was like, well, I can't get into my Lightbenders. My company name that I also run cinematography and photography through is called Lightbenders Visuals. And of course I have a website, and then I have my Lightbenders Facebook page, which is decently active. But fortunately, like I mentioned, my wife is also an admin on that. So I was able to get in there and business as usual, just let everybody know what happened. So that was number one crisis, slightly averted. However, the real disaster for me as a photographer came when I tried to open my Instagram account, which I've had for the last 8 or so years, however long Instagram's been around. I've had my main Instagram account, and I had built it up. I don't play the Instagram game a lot. I don't do the follow for follow and the unfollow follow, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really I didn't have a huge following, especially considering that I have almost 100,000 YouTube subscribers, but I had, around 10,000 Instagram followers, which it was enough to really help, and I was part of the Reels bonus program. I had brand deals, that kind of thing, brand associations. And then I had the numbers that, when you're a professional photographer these days and a YouTuber and all that stuff, like the numbers, as vain as they are, do matter. And it matters when I can talk with a brand and negotiate and say, it's this much for the YouTube, but if you want a little extra, then I've got an Instagram and we can do this much for an Instagram post, or, basically, I mean, it was making money on Instagram. It was a very small chunk of my overall photography business. However, it was still very important to my business. Well, that account was linked to my personal page. And I thought that I had unlinked it because there had been a scare a couple of years ago where this kind of happened, but I recovered and they like approved and they got back and everything. I had thought that I uncoupled my Instagram account, but maybe something didn't go through, or maybe I didn't do it right, or whatever. Unlinked my Instagram account from my Facebook account. Well, that didn't happen clearly, because now when I try to log into Instagram to my old account, it says because this account is attached to linked to a Facebook account that has been suspended for community guideline violations, you can't use this Instagram account. Now, to me, that's kind of crazy because I understand that Facebook and Instagram are both owned by Meta. However, they are still two separate entities, and if it can't be directly proven that my Instagram account had been hacked or had violated any sort of community guidelines for Instagram itself, then that should, in my opinion, I don't know, that should not be linked to a Facebook account that had been, whatever happened, violated or anything like that. But alas, that is not the case, and I no longer have my Instagram. So I did have a secondary Instagram that I haven't really been talking about. It was just more of like for fun for me over the past few years. And it's where I mostly posted birding stuff. So, I mean, I'm a photographer. I do all kinds of stuff: landscape, astro, time lapses, nature, portraits, extreme sports, all of it. I do a lot of it. Wildlife is a huge part of my YouTube channel and a huge part of my business. But birding specifically is like a much tighter niche, and I'm big into the birding community, into birding itself. So I had made this page and I had built up just under 1,000 followers, like 900 and some change, just over the past year or two, just posting bird pictures. So instead of starting a brand new account, because luckily that account is not attached to any Facebook or anything, that was a separate account that I made just for fun. But I decided, rather than trying to build up a completely new account from scratch that was going to be my main account and like 0 followers, that I would just use this account that already had close to 1,000 and just try to help me get that bump. And then of course I made some posts and stuff like that, and I was able to get a couple hundred extra followers so far in the past week or so to bump me up over that 1,000 follower mark, which was pretty cool. So if you guys are not new here and you've been following me for a long time, and I just really appreciate all of your support. I've gotten a lot of DMs, a lot of reshares on Instagram and story shares and all that stuff, and it means the world to me. It's really impressive that I have people that care that much about me, especially people that I've never met before. Okay, so that's what happened. That's a long story long, I guess. So I don't want to play blame games, and I certainly don't want to deal with people telling me, oh, well, you're stupid, you should have done this, you should have done that. I understand that it's easier to be negative on the internet behind a computer or a phone or whatever than it is in real life. So that's cool if you want to be ugly about it, or if you want to, like, say that I'm an idiot or whatever, like, I'll take it. The point of this video is not for me to express my anger or frustrations with something. Like, I am doing that. I'm expressing my frustrations. However, I don't like to dwell on negativity very much in my life. I like to accept the negative stuff and then move on, because the only thing that it's hurting me by being negative, and it's hurting everyone around me by them having to be around a negative person. So anyways, that's just a life philosophy of mine. And the whole point of this is, like, I want to use my misfortune as a cautionary tale for you, and maybe go over a couple of ways that you can hopefully, possibly, plausibly, maybe prevent this from happening to you as well. So the first thing that I would say is definitely turn on two-factor authentication, which it does help. And in my case, somehow it was, it was gotten around. This happened to Chris Howe a while back too, like a year ago or so. And he also had, I remember him saying he had the two-factor turned on. But just because someone can get around it, or, in our cases, someone did get around it, and doesn't mean you should have that attitude or the mindset of like, oh, well, it's useless anyways, right? So why make my life harder? It's not useless. It does help in a lot of cases. So I would definitely turn that on. Statistics are still on your side if you have that on versus not. So the next huge thing for me, association with Facebook and Instagram, delink that if you can. There is a way to go into your Instagram and unlink it. And I'm not going to go through step by step. This isn't going to be a tutorial. I'm just going to give you the advice and tell you that you should do it. Just go Google it, how to unlink Facebook from Instagram. There are articles, there are step by steps, there's probably videos. Find out how to do that. Find out if your stuff is connected and if it needs to be separated. If you're using either Facebook or Instagram for a business, do not have them connected, have them separate, and figure out how to do that. That is, like, to me, that is the biggest crushing blow, is just losing my Instagram. So there's one more thing. There are a lot of new ways to hack things and accounts and all of that stuff. And I've seen it happen to other YouTubers and bigger people and stuff like that. So this is another cautionary thing, and this wasn't how I was hacked. At least I don't believe it was. But basically, what can happen is a lot of times, like if you have a desktop or a laptop or something that you work from, like I do, I have my studio office in here, and I work from my computer. A lot of times during the day and sometimes even at night, I have a lot of browsers open because I'm doing work, right? I'm multitasking. I'm editing a video, or I'm editing photos, or I'm replying to emails, or I'm replying to comments on my Facebook page or my Instagram. What, you know what I mean? Like all of that stuff going on during the day, and I'm not at my computer 100% of the time. So I get up, I go have my tea, my snacks, my lunch. I homeschool my kid. He's in high school now, so homeschooling him has gotten progressively harder over the years. It's gotten to where it requires more of my attention. I can't just give him a worksheet and tell him to go do this and then, whatever. Like, for me, homeschooling has increasingly taken up more of my time with him, and that's great, and I love it. We've chosen to do that. The point is, like, I'm away from my computer, but my computer is still open a lot, and there's browsers open and that kind of stuff. So there is a new hack or a relatively new hack, where people can, if you click on something or if they get into your computer, if they have access to your computer when your browsers are open, they can bypass any kind of login information that you may require, whether it's two-step or whether it's texting codes. None of that will matter if your stuff is already open and logged in, because then they're just in the car with the keys on, and all they have to do is hit the gas and go, and then crash your car into whatever. It's the same situation, and that's what I've seen happen to a couple of bigger YouTubers, and it's really scary. And fortunately, those YouTubers were able to get their accounts back, but it was a nightmare, and it took a big toll, and it's just ugly. So my word of caution there would be, like, if, like, I also leave things open while I'm rendering, and if I'm rendering a video and I go away for a couple hours, or if I'm going to do schoolwork with my son or whatever, I'll leave things open. So my habit now is to definitely close those, especially anything where I have to log into. That way, if someone were to get into my computer, at least there would be nothing open in browsers that would be already logged into. And like I said before, though, I don't think that's how my account was hacked in this occasion. But it is scary, and I have been thinking about that a lot lately as my business grows and my YouTube grows and all that stuff. It would be absolutely catastrophic if I lost my YouTube or access to my YouTube, because that is by far the biggest portion of my photography income. So the last thing like is, you know, passwords. I have some, I guess, gripes or questions about like how especially Facebook or Meta deals with password changes, but like I definitely am getting into the habit, I have been over the last year or so, of changing my passwords more often and randomizing them. So a lot of people, it's natural, it's human nature, we've psychologically developed this way to like want to use things that we can remember to do our passwords, and whether that's birthdays or significant numbers in our lives for pins, or whether that's, you know, pet names or just something in our life that's easy to remember. Unfortunately, those things are the easiest for people to figure out. And that's kind of common sense. As we go forward, it's easier and easier for someone to collect digital information from our lives and put those into algorithms that can then decode passwords and stuff much faster these days. So I've gotten in the habit of, and this was definitely something that the military does really well, that I got from there, was, you know, we're having to change our passcodes for certain things constantly, and then having them more randomized. So you can get random password code generators and stuff like that and cycle through them, and they make them really difficult to, like almost impossible to crack by conventional means. So there's stuff like that. But then there's password services like LastPass or whatever, and this is not sponsored by anyone except for me. If you love my stuff and you want to support me, then you can do a ton of things by like clicking like on the video, commenting, sharing, subscribing to the channel, checking out my presets, affiliate links, all the goods for the usual ways that you support your awesome local YouTubers. But anyways, that's the kind of stuff that I've been thinking about lately, and that's the kind of mentality. So here's also what happened with the Facebook thing, is that I'm pretty sure that they changed my password as soon as they logged in, or as soon as they got access to my account, because that's kind of standard hacker protocol, is that like you lock the person out like right off the bat. And that's where like I think that Facebook should definitely, or Meta, Instagram included, should definitely like be thinking about ways to deal with this, to mitigate that. Because if Facebook notified me that I had a sketchy login attempt from across the entire country, you know, from 2,000 miles away from where I lived, and then I told Facebook, no, that's not me, and they're like, okay, cool, that's not you, we're not letting them in. And then somehow someone gets in, and then it's like from the same area, and then my password gets, like, they just let my password get changed. I think at that point they should do something to require some sort of extra vetting or identification to say, hey, is this really you? Are you really wanting to change your password? You know, like, because that's probably the biggest problem for people trying to recover their accounts, is like they no longer have access to their account because their password was just changed. All right, well, I think I'm done ranting now. My hot chai is probably not so hot anymore. That makes me sad. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here and just throw that cautionary tale out. So, I mean, you know, an update on my channel is that my Instagram, my Facebook, they're still gone. There's apparently nothing that I can do. Uh, I don't know anybody who works at Facebook or Instagram or Meta that would care. And apparently nobody does work there anyways. But hopefully my story will help you guys like kind of understand what's going on and the potentials of what can happen and what you can do, maybe at least in mitigation or prevention. And yeah, if you're still here and you're new, definitely subscribe to the channel and go check out my now new main Instagram account, which will be in the link down below if you want to follow my work. All right, that's it. If you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, about what happened, or you know, whatever, just leave those in the comments below and I will definitely answer them. Hit that like button for me if you're still sticking around, because that's by far one of the easiest and biggest helps that you can do. I can't even talk anymore. You know what I mean? Hit the like button for me. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.